Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video we're going to be doing a full moon reading, specifically a beaver moon, which I know I sound like I know this is immature, but I can't stop laughing at it. So this is also called a frost moon, and I don't know if I'm making this one up, but I think this is when it's the moon's the closest to the earth out of any time of year. If I'm correct or wrong, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to actually cement that in my memory correctly. Anyway, we're going to be going over the energies at that time, what's popping up. This is all around November, or it's on November 30th, but we're looking a little bit before it, on that day, and a little bit after it, just a general couple day time period. So as you can see, we have 4 groups in front of us. Group number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you have, you can go down to the description where you can go to your designated group with its marked timestamp, but let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's see what's going on during this full moon by looking at the cards. We've got the Ace of Swords in reverse, the King of Wands in reverse, the Strength card upright, the Temperance card in reverse, and the 7 of Swords upright. Give me a moment to just look at everything. Oh. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I was just getting extra detailed information on what's going on over here so we can kind of pinpoint it a little bit more. Okay, so let's get into it. So first, let's start with the Temperance card. During this time period, it is going to be a lot of high highs and low lows via the kind of energy surrounding this time period. I want to be clear, this is not an emotional thing, as in you'll feel really happy one moment and really, down the next. Not at all. This is more like for a couple hours, so much is being asked of you in your workplace and you're working really hard and it's really intense and oh my goodness. And then you have a couple hours where it's just really low key. Nobody needs anything from you. You have plenty of time to relax, and you're going to notice this fluctuation quite dramatically 180 ing going back and forth during these couple of days. Now, this is nothing to fret over. This is something where you want to really take advantage, my spirit guide said, of being present in the moment. Really, when that moment pops up and you need a lot's being asked of you, don't worry about it taking you or stressing you out, because a lot of those fears and feelings come from thinking like, oh my goodness, is this going to last forever? I can't take this. This is so much asked of me. You kind of have to have that mindset of being like, okay, one thing at a time, and you handle it. And then when you have that moment pop up and it seems like nothing's happening, you have all this time to relax, take advantage of that, being very present, soak that up, and just kind of go with the up and down. Now that gets extended over here in the confirmation card with the Strength card, upright, saying that, yep, you're going to handle it no problem. It's going to be not an issue for you. But this is also additional some guidance and things to consider during this time. Not only should you be very present in order to deal with the ups and downs and not let it get to you, and kind of you don't want to ignore the low time periods when you're relaxing and only keep viewing yourself as continuously getting busy every day and view yourself as that's like your mantra where you're like, oh, I'm always busy. Nope. Right now you're not busy. You're chilling out. You're talking to a friend. You're relaxing. It's probably best if you don't only focus on that. And going on from that idea, we talk about what's being exhibited over here in the Strength card with the lion. My spirit guide and the confirmation of the Strength card talk about how you should view this time period and this sort of fluctuation of the highs and the lows as more of as a separate entity, like taming a lion. Think of it as your pet lion, so to speak. And so when that lion gets fussy and angry and kind of dangerous and you have to take on a different personality to handle it, you aren't mad and really contemplating this out of the lion when they're relaxing and wanting a belly rub and some food and hanging out. You're just kind of enjoying them for that. And you just don't see any of it as a big deal because when they're having a fit or fussing, you're just like, oh, you're having a sweet little tantrum, or, oh, you're dealing with this now, you'll feel like this the next moment. And when you view it in that sort of way, you're kind of able to stay on top of it, see it from an outer objective third-party perspective, and not let it be consumed by you. If you allow yourself to be kind of caught up in the motion of like, okay, I'm working a lot, oh my goodness, I'm relaxing, I don't know what to do, I'm still kind of pepped up from that really overworking mode, it almost feels as if the lion is chasing you and taking, you're kind of escaping and having to be mutable, which means very adaptable to whatever it needs in order to feel your best and survive. But remember, you're the keeper of the lion. So when you have those moments, come back to the present. Enjoy each moment as they pop up. Enjoy it when it gets busy, because busyness often implies things like making lots of money, getting things done, just feeling really accomplished. And when you feel relaxed, don't slow down and fully check into staring outside at nature, meditating, breathing, just being quiet for a little bit, listen to some chill music. I actually just did a spiritual talks video going in depth about how music affects us high vibrationally, low vibrationally, what that all means, and getting into the specifics. I highly recommend you checking that out. But you get what I'm saying here in that aspect, but nothing to worry about, just something to consider when, in order for the whole transitional time period to feel like you can feel your best, essentially. Now over here in the Seven of Swords, upright, due to this up and down time period, there is a possibility that you're going to be kind of a little bit exhausted at moments and feel more, when we're kind of run down a little bit, we're a little more open and freer with the way we express ourselves and maybe private things we want to keep to ourselves. My spirit guide also confirmed this in addition to this card, that now is a good time during this couple of days to not share anything very, like a secret, something that you kind of have been harboring. Maybe you feel a certain way about someone at work, and I'm talking about good and bad. Whatever it is that the general public or your close friends don't really know about it, now is not the time to share that information and expose yourself in that way. And the way my spirit guide put it, don't put all your cards on the table at this point in time. Now, you are more susceptible of doing that because you're just kind of so relaxed that you're just kind of vibing and sort of, I don't want to say gossiping, but you're more you just start freely talking. You want to be aware that you could be more vulnerable to it and not to do that, and just kind of keep that to yourself for a couple more days. Now's not the good time. When we have that sort of information popping up, which rarely happens, I want to point out, I rarely see in the cards to just keep information to yourself during a specific time period, you might not have all of the outside factors, you might not know everything. And if you kind of too quickly say, let's say the secret is you have a crush on someone at work, and you tell your friend, unbeknownst to you, that friend might be friends with someone else who has a crush on them, and then it gets back to them, and before you know it, you're dealing with unnecessary kind of work drama, that type of thing. You know what I mean? So right now, keep it to yourself. It seems like you're going to get more information in the long run, and then you'll be, you can make decisions from there of what you want to express to who in the long run. Anyway, now over here, it's really important to know about so you can kind of be prepared. And again, same thing, no problem, push through, not a big deal at all. But I do see a negative influence coming in with the King of Wands in reverse. For some of you, this can be a family member. It is an older male. I asked if it's only an older male from a family member, and they said, no, not every case, but my spirit guide said, it's not a coworker. I'm so sorry, not a boss. I want to say specifically not a boss. Can it be a coworker? My spirit guide goes, oh yes, it can be a coworker. So remember, whenever we talk about older, is this significantly older or that relative term we're using, older? Relative. Okay. When we use relative in this case, this means, because again, this is a general reading. There are many people of different age groups watching this. They could be older by like 2 months. They could be older by 15 years. In this particular case, it's not a significant age difference definitely, like, yep, that's how you can identify them. They're just older in some way. Either way, it seems like they've got a bad attitude and they're trying to bring it your way and trying to make you sort of subservient to them during this time period. Now, this is something important to know because we can see a way you might react and respond, and we can easily change that. And something to keep in mind in order for this to not be a big deal, something that, again, we talked about the idea of viewing an outside circumstance like a beloved pet or like someone young having like a tantrum type of thing. This person is going to make you think or try to put this like intense energy out there, especially with it being a wand factor, where they're like, yep, you have to answer to me. I'm the boss. I am the person that's dominant in this situation. They're trying to like put out those vibes. But the way my spirit guide put it is, if you're like moving forward in, battle, we're going to come back to that analogy over here too. They are trying to act like, they're really this main player, but in reality, they're just like a lowly soldier. You haven't even met the big bad boss yet. Now, I'm not saying you're going to. I'm not saying that's where you're headed. I'm just saying it's like they're just trying to start like a confrontation out of nowhere. And it's like, who are you? What power do you have? Nothing? Okay, goodbye. Stop it. Even if they are a family member, I want to include that too, that intensity. Now, there is the possibility you might want to react with the Ace of Swords being in reverse, which is, my spirit guide described it as bad judgment. And we're going to be specific about that because when you see it being put upside down, my spirit guide describes it as like almost like you're putting your sword into the ground. And how can you possibly defend yourself if it's implanted in the ground? That wouldn't be good judgment. It's almost like you're putting yourself away, almost already resigning and allowing there to be defeat. You're just like, oh, yeah, he's like giving me so much intense energy. Like, I guess he's right. I have to listen to what he says. Like, he's bringing bad vibes in my world. I don't feel like confronting him. I don't want to deal with this. But my spirit guide said you should lift this upright and instead realize now is a great time to easily slice through, be really truthful, be really comfortable with speaking your, whatever you have to say of like, no, I don't agree with that. But here's the important thing when we talked about the idea of them being like a lowly soldier trying to like kind of up their status and lie about how much, kind of importance they have in their ranking when they really don't. Especially think of it as like the ranking in your life and who you have to answer to. It's just really not there. They don't have as much influence as they think they would like to, but they just don't. And so it's not about having to then get into an argument with them in order to get through this small little hiccup or kind of, being like, you can't tell me what to do, and then really getting sucked into it. That in its way is you're sort of granting them like, oh yes, you are worthy of getting me upset. You are worthy of my attention and emotional reaction, when that's not true at all. It's like more like you being like, no, that's not true. I'm going to do what I want. Okay, goodbye. And you just kind of quickly move past them, and they'll probably want you to engage with them more, but you'll quickly push through them. No problem. Don't give in to giving them more power. And that's the important thing. They don't have it. They only have as much power as you give them. So just kind of like speak your truth, say like, no, I'm not going to do that. Goodbye. And then just don't give in to confrontation and move through it and keep enjoying this time period of yours. This is just something that you should less worry about and see it as, and realize it's sort of like a beautiful life lesson of like, think about that in a grand scheme of things. People only has as much an effect on you in any situation, whether it be power or emotions, based on how much you give it to them. So this is your fun little exercise, and it won't be a big deal. You'll push through it. You'll have a great time period and get a lot done and all that other good stuff. But mostly over this time period, it's just about protecting yourself and just kind of not letting the, very busy schedule and then relaxation time kind of overwhelm you, but something that more works to your benefit. Lots of great life lesson learning, just kind of your day to day, but it will all be easier to manage now that you know all this stuff. So please put in the comments below, do you have that friend who you normally would tell everything to, or you're going to kind of keep it back for a little bit? Just let me know whatever you think in the comments below. And also give the video a like, a subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for the next group. Group number 2. Group number 2. Let's find out what's going on during this full moon time period by looking at the cards. We've got the Devil card upright, very cute. The Hierophant in reverse, the Hermit in reverse, the High Priestess upright, wow. And the Queen of Swords, wow. Wow. This is very insightful. This is the thinking person's tarot spread. Give me a moment just to get all the details. Okay, let's get started. We're going to be hopping around a little bit to interconnect everything. But let's start off with the Devil card over here. So there is going to be sort of a door within you opened up. And think of it as a threshold or a barrier that is no longer there. But the reason why I love the analogy of my spirit guide describing it as a door, as well as this imagery we have right here in the cards, is because that implies it was never an obstacle to begin with, but something to better understand. And think of like when we learn lessons or we figure stuff out, they are more doorways. You just figure it out. What is the situation? How can you understand this better? Think of that understanding as the key, and the key opens it up and you walk right on through. And the more you realize it's not something you need to resist, something you need to fight back with, or push back and see it as such a difficult thing, but just something you need to slow down and understand. And the easier you realize it is, the easier it is to come up with that key and then open that door. But the reason why it's so exciting this is popping up, especially in this imagery with this card in particular, is because once this door is opened up inside you, a previous issue, this would have been a repeating one. This can be varied from anything from a habit that is in the physical world, like maybe you partake or intake something that's not good for you on a regular basis, but this could be the way you approach viewing yourself. Maybe you always think little micro judgmental comments towards yourself, or you constantly kind of quelch whatever you have to say. You always kind of think, I don't know. I mean, that is a way of putting yourself down continuously. But whatever it is, the gamut is pretty large when we're doing a group tarot reading, but just consider that. It's something that is not benefiting you, and it's been a hard thing to overcome in general. Well, when this door gets opened up inside of you during this time period, it's like all of a sudden you were, again, we talked about the idea of bumping into this barrier. Suddenly you just slide right through and you find yourself ascending to the next level. And when I find these big moments in your life, and I consider them very big moments, it's like when you're in this place, you kind of can't see your life as anything other than dealing with this habit or not having this habit, like dreaming to not deal with it, you're dealing with it. And when you ascend past it and suddenly it's so easy, suddenly, again, we think about the idea of, we're using the example of the micro judgments towards ourselves, and you just no longer do that. Suddenly you ascend to a new version of yourself that's accomplishing things without the worry of keeping a habit at bay or dealing with it or all those type of things that you suddenly realize there was a new version of yourself you didn't know could exist. One that's getting more things done and feeling happy and building building upon that. Maybe you weren't someone before that could even consider starting a new business or interacting with people in a more confident, like you approach them when flirting and stuff like that kind of way. And that wasn't even in your mindset or goals, but because you're free of this constant repeated habit that doesn't help you in any way, and you're free of it, you ascend to this new version of yourself with new dreams and new aspirations. So it's very cool that this doorway is opening up. It makes the process of overcoming this a lot easier than it was previously. And it makes you view, if you come into another unhealthy habit again, in a new way. What is the door that needs to be opened? What is the key I need to have in order to open and get through this, rather than constantly repeating the same thing over and over again that isn't helping, which is just the idea of like, I'll overcome this, I'll get over this, you know what I mean? So then what makes this happen? Well, over here it's presented in the Hermit in reverse. So my spirit guide describes this idea as you uncloaking yourself. That's the imagery they gave me. They showed me like a jacket being removed off of you. And the cloaking yourself, my spirit guide said, is like every time you kind of want to show people the real you, and we're viewing things like, it's so subtle, but we often like kind of quiet our opinions and how we really feel on matters, because we kind of want to just be a part of the group, not rock the boat. Maybe your opinion isn't that dramatically intense, but, understandably you're aware that sometimes you're in a group or an environment, whether this be friends or coworkers, that have an overly intense way of viewing your opinion as somehow controversial, or implying that this small little thing you're saying is implying 10 other things. And this is something to keep in mind, and maybe this is a part of your epiphany during these couple of days, but you kind of realize that's their issue to overcome, not something that you need to then censor yourself on the matter. And it feels like this feeling of like you're acknowledging it in this moment and you're making choices. And when I make that statement of you're making choices, it's like hearing yourself internally say, someone says, I think this, this, and this. And you can kind of look inwards and think, well, I'd like to say this, but I feel like normally I'll say this because I don't, I want to agree and I want to just like be a part of this. And something inside you in this time period says, you know what? No, I kind of would feel really free if I just said what I felt. And no matter the reaction, you kind of don't care anymore about if people are cool with it. That doesn't mean they will disagree with you, but if they do disagree, you're kind of just feel this sense of weight being lifted off your shoulders, the uncloaking, and it becomes this fun, addictive thing that you notice and you strive to express yourself even more, be more honest with other people in order to be more honest with yourself, which is really beautiful in little small ways. Like maybe you've always wanted to be someone who edits their photos when you post on social media, but you were always kind of shy about it. You didn't know if people would make fun of you or think it's silly, but you want to creatively express yourself that way. So you just start doing it and you don't care anymore. And suddenly you realize you're really interested in this whole project and creative outlet than you ever really gave yourself a chance to explore, which is really beautiful. Either way, this uncloaking opens this doorway for the unhealthy habit that you will then overcome, which is really beautiful, and it'll be a lot easier to push through. Now over here in the Hierophant in reverse, my spirit guide said there is something specific that over the couple days of that time period that is going to catch your interest. Now, this new thing that it's like gathering information, will specifically be gathered through watching it. So it would not be through like any type of traditional form of collecting academic knowledge. It wouldn't be a book. It wouldn't even be like Wikipedia. It would be like a video on YouTube, or you see maybe that somebody is playing a game, and in the game there is some sort of something pops up, and you're like, what's that? And you want to like research it more in that way. Either way, something is going to pique your interest over these couple days that will be your pinnacle focal point, my spirit guide says, for the next couple of months. So you're going to see something, it's going to get you excited, it's not going to be, it's going to be presented to you in a way you didn't anticipate, not your traditional way of seeking out new things, and you're going to be excited about it, and this small little interest is really going to grow from that point on, which is really fun and cool. Now, the High Priestess card upright is really where you're sort of heading when we're going back to this subject in the Hermit card. So something interesting about the High Priestess card that is a general given with this tarot card, if you're a fellow tarot card reader or you're getting into it, but is really important for your particular tarot reading, is her way she expresses herself in conjunction to her community. She is very, very in tune with herself and the universe and is able to truly connect to the truth of the matter. And she has the confidence to stick by that insight and that truth. So she is not afraid. She does not feel any insecurity at all, nor, and I want to make this clear, a lack of insecurity doesn't mean she's challenging people. But if people approach her and think, what do you think on the matter? She will be connected to it. She can kind of see all the information, both on like a kind of like a psychic intuitive level. She can see the bigger picture. She's not caught up in like social norms and deep conditioning. She just sees what it is. She shares her opinion. And if this upsets people and they're not down for it, and there's an initial reaction of like, we don't agree with that, you're wrong, because they haven't, emotionally caught up to her, she doesn't care. She's like, okay, well, I'm not going to fight with you, but I'm still sticking by my opinion. I'm okay with being an outsider, but this is the important thing. She is only ever an outsider temporarily. People still go to her for their mentorship, for her insight, because in reality, as eventually time goes by and they realize she was right, you are right, and they come back and want to really realize, oh wow, you knew before they knew and before they were emotionally able to hear that information. And you'll be ready to share that with them when they are ready. But then because of this, over time, there becomes a greater idea of like, hey, she does things a little bit differently. They do things, I'm speaking about you, like they do things a little bit differently, but they always seem to know what's up. And it takes other people time to catch up to the speed that you're already like advancing in. So it makes sense why the High Priestess is showing up. You're preparing yourself to just like speak your truth, because it seems like you're very connected to the greater, the cosmic knowledge of it all. Like there's something intuitively in you that you already get a funny feeling when you meet people that are not trustworthy, or if you feel like something's a good idea, you go towards it. And you're kind of preparing yourself to be more and more comfortable with going against what other people vibe and feel with and are connected to. So then we have over here the Queen of Swords upright. Now my spirit guide said that it's nothing like intense or like devastating or something you need to be scared about, but after these couple of day time periods, you're going to be shifting into a situation where it would be best if you were living your truth and really connected to it and really just in a confident place to express yourself. Because when this situation pops up, it will basically make it really easy for you to kind of slice through it all. It's not going to be a big deal. It won't even be, I tried to get more information to be like, hey, is this big, a big drama or big confrontation? Can I get any more? Let me just ask the spirit guide if I can get any more information. Okay, it's just not important. It's only important that this is happening. So you're ending these couple days with everything we talked about, feeling really, really able to know what you're about, feel like you're more confident about whatever inkling you have going on in your gut. You're going to express that to other people, and you're not going to worry about if other people can't handle it. The Queen of Swords upright has very similar to the High Priestess. The way this is best expressed is she does not shield what she has to say out of love and respect for others. She feels it's more beneficial to the whole, to the community, if she expresses the truth rather than hides it from them, kind of gives them the more watered down, whatever knowledge they need to know. But this is more about you feeling like you're connected to the truth as a whole in yourself and the world around you, and you're not afraid to speak up about it. And we see that all of that's naturally coming together by the end of those days, and you're kind of like in a really good confident place. So when this thing springs up, you're basically able to handle it, no problem. It'll go through really quickly. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment. Also, feel free to leave a like and a subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I can see that you're going to be the best. And I'll see you the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's find out what's happening over this full moon for you by looking at the cards. We've got... Sorry, I can hear my spirit guides speaking. Oh. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm already getting information. Oh, this is a very, woke / future riches time period for you. Wow, that's awesome. Okay. Okay, I already got all the information. Let's just get started. So let's start with the High Priest card over here, which is actually representing the Emperor. But we're actually not reading it as the Emperor traditionally. I guess in a way, because there is definitely foundation building time period vibes going on here, especially with the Four of Swords in reverse, the way my spirit guide is reading it, and with the Emperor card in its traditional meanings. And if you're not familiar with that, this is when you build something that is, again, we talked about the foundation, that everything else gets built upon. So it's like your core ideas, so to speak. So you want that to be real solid, so everything that gets built upon it doesn't eventually fall down if it's not solid. But this is a good time period for you. So let's focus, though, on the actual meaning, though, in addition to that. So as you can see, there's 2 keys being presented to these 2 individuals. And my spirit guide said that information is going to be presented to you and another person. Now, this information, this insight that is being given will cause potentially a little bit of both a high of wow, we didn't know this before. This is so cool. But due to the subtext of how my spirit guide puts the rest of the information, it almost sounds like there could be a jealousy factor that pops up. So I asked who this figure is. My spirit guide said this could be a spirit guide. Can this be a person they know? No, it would not be a person they know. Okay, so new person, new element in their life. Would this be someone outside of work? Or is this work related? It's not work related. It's someone it could be someone from TV, it could be someone, either way, you and somebody else are going to be watching something. Are they going to be watching it together or separately? Both categories. Okay, sorry, I'm just getting information as we go with my spirit guide. So in some cases, you both saw it separately, and then you're sharing that information with each other, and you're telling each other, hey, I saw this too, or you experience it together, and it can be, like I said, it can be a spirit guide related experience. But this information, when it's given to you, you both are so affected by it. I see it dramatically, you want to do something with this. There can involve money being made from this information. But my spirit guide said subtext-wise, there are 2 keys being presented to 2 people. There is enough knowledge for everybody. And that to me seems, you can see where I'm getting that sort of underlying vibe going on there. So if you do have a moment of wow, this is so exciting, this is so amazing, this information is being given to me, and then you have a small little moment of hey, wait a minute, but I wanted to do this thing. They can too, and there's enough for everybody. But it is knowledge-based, is how my spirit guide puts it. But what you do with that knowledge is really interesting, and the kind of what you're building towards is going on over here. We're going to expound upon a little bit more, but that's the main gist of what's going on over these couple days. So this information gets built, and both in the confirmation cards with the 2 of Wands upright, and the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Both of these talk about this idea of you taking it and then creating something with it. So over here, it talks about, imagine this being the ending of those couple of days and going into, you're after the couple days into December, you're going into the December in the future. You're investing what you have been given in creating it into something new. And it has affected you so deeply, it has changed your core belief system. But you are using this core belief system, this knowledge, everything, and turning it into financial growth going forward, which is really cool. That idea gets expounded upon even more with the Two of Wands, and my spirit guide lovingly corrected me and said canes. Focus on it being like a cane you would use to walk forward, something you would lean on, something that's pulling you forward. But the thing though here is my spirit guide said the imagery is incorrect to the meaning of what the card is. And I already know that due to the traditional viewpoint of Two of Wands. Two of Wands, you're not going out on the road yet. You're thinking about going out on your travels. You're preparing to get ready for your travels. You're thinking about, what do I need to know now so I have the safest and most prosperous journey in the long term. But there is very much this energy of like, you're so excited by what has been given to you knowledge-wise that you're sort of preparing the cane, so to speak. You're thinking about you're really so focused on like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're contemplating all the journeys you're going to have, that it almost feels like you're already walking forward towards the goals that you have because you're so captivated by these daydreams. And by the way, daydreams are one of the most fantastic ways to get insight, intuition. It is a great way to manifest, and unbeknownst to most people, it is often a little way that you kind of psychically channel in many ways. Not all the time. This isn't a blanket statement, but it is one of the connective ways you kind of, just like going to sleep, dreams exist in the daytime, and they also are part of the intuitive process. But that's a conversation for another time and another day. But anyways, so the thing though I noticed over here, and I was asking my spirit guide, is this little message roll over here. I said, oh, is this like their plan, this little plan they're holding in their hand? They really make a lot of notes. And my spirit guide said, no, these are plans that are being made on a subconscious level, unbeknownst to the person listening to this tarot reading. So what they mean by that, and they were vibratively telling me and expounding upon, was that you will not be making plans as in like writing up a list. It's more like you're really talking about all the possibilities and putting these ideas out there, but on an actual planning level where you need to like, check out places and order stuff and whatever it is that you need to bring materials together in order to create this idea and spread it and whatever it may be. This is something you're making deep, deep, deep back in the mind. You're not doing it consciously. You're kind of having more fun, daydreaming, contemplating, getting your shoes ready, so to speak, to go out on your journey, getting that cane ready as we talked about. But don't worry about needing to have exact plans during this time period. You're already making them and taking care of yourself. And that's something to contemplate going forward. So if you ever have a moment where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, you do. Slow down. Breathe, connect to your inner self. You already know what's going on. You already know what to do next. You can trust in yourself. You're more being guided by your creativity and inspiration from this knowledge, and you should follow it because that's the sparking point and the thing that's going to keep moving you forward. But when you need to get stuff done and you're like, okay, well, how do I get it done? Slow down. You're creating it over these couple of days. Reflect back at this time period. Connect on a deep inner level. Meditation will be a really good way to connect to this. And you get what I'm saying going forward. Now let's talk about it a little bit more, because this is something, this is why I was asking about if it was spirit guide based or spiritual based, because when we have a 4 and then a 5 popping up, this is pretty huge. So these are not being read, fun fact for tarot readers, cards don't always need to be read by their traditional meanings. They can be read more for imagery or numbers or whatever other stuff is going on. And my spirit guide said, and was very clear, that both of these are being read for their swords and for their numbers, their numerology. So in the Akashic records, the number 4 is all about this idea idea of like baseline needs, your structure of your house. But it's really interesting. Again, this is more like, think of this as the cement plot of land, the foundation being built, and think of the Four of Swords as the walls. So when we look at swords representing the idea of mindset, logic, the way you view an idea and break it down, so to speak. When you're thinking about that and you're over these next couple days, once you get this, again, this knowledge, it seems you're going to be really building sort of a structural house with it. You're going to be looking at every angle of it, being more clear and definitive off expanding from that idea. You're going to be, it's really, like I said, very like contemplative, fun time period where I always call it like the art of the art of conversation, the art of thinking. You're just really in your mind enjoying and developing and expanding upon what you've gained to really get something solid. But this is what's so cool about these next couple of days. During that time period, while you will get this idea, be inspired, and then create something with it where you're really thinking of it as a whole, it definitely has that, it's appropriate that it's next to the Two of Wands, because that's very much around the idea of getting this insight, planning. You're really in that stage of thinking about the whole process before you move into the house, so to speak, before you go on your travels. I know those are contradicting statements, but you get what I'm saying when I talk about building something. But then we have a Five of Swords. Again, swords still representing the idea of knowledge. Now, in the Akashic records, they describe it as like, so if you have the four representing this house, right? Think of like just a boring box. Here it is, everything, your needs met, baseline ideas understood, you feel pretty solid in that. The five is sort of the roof, or the peeking out, think of it on like a dimensional level, that like, let's say we lived in a world where it's like we only have north, east, south, and west, and it's like revolutionary to think of the idea of going upwards. You see what I'm saying here? This is all of a sudden, after you build this structure of this idea and really got it concretely kind of existing on more than just kind of a whimsical creative like, oh wow, okay, I never thought of it like this, and then you start to kind of bring it into the world with clearer parameters. As soon as you have something set up, it immediately almost like kind of cracks and breaks in a good way, and you start to really level up spiritually and mentally and start to think even more. It's like you create the box and then you think outside of the box once it's been created. But but when you're during this really excited mental time period, like you're really in your mind during this time period because you're planning to do something with it outside of these couple of days, understand, slow down. You need to build the parameter, you need to build the structure, contemplate it. Once you have that built, that is like putting ideas on a sketchbook, and once it exists in the real world, then you sort of have triggered a beautiful domino effect of even more ideas outside of it. So you're going to really notice, like I said, there's no other way I can say it than you're going to be very woke during this time period. Five is a very out of the box type of thinking experience. It definitely can totally and positively affect the way you're going to experience and react to the world around you in the best possible way thinking. This is someone who's moving in the direction of higher vibrational thinking and higher vibrational actions. And what I mean by that statement is sometimes it's so out of people's wheelhouses to think of the idea that it's not he said, she said, but what everyone is saying? I know that seems like a small idea, but for some people that's totally out of the wheelhouse. But you are heading in the direction of someone who's looking at what everyone's saying. Do you get what I'm saying here? So get excited. It's a lot of thinking, expanding beyond yourself, expanding beyond the way you're viewing the world and thinking and interacting with it, and then also financially prospering from it in the long run. So that's so cool and awesome. Very fun, very creative. Anyways, please let me know what you think in the comments below. It means the world to me. I also like to see a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Helps out like you would not believe. I'm wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and let's get ready for our final group. Group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what's going on with you during the full moon time period by looking at the cards. We've got the Emperor upright, the King of Swords in reverse. Another Emperor in reverse. I already know this is important, but I can hear my spirit guide saying these are the most important cards of the reading. Give me just but a moment to hear all of the information. Okay. All right, super straightforward and simple. Okay, so the Emperor card is more taking on the energy of Aries. So the vibe that my spirit guide is showing me is during this time period, you're just gonna really be enthused you're gonna have a certain, is it a specific goal or in general? Specific goal. Okay, specific goal. I was just double checking if it's in general at all. So there's going to be a specific goal you have in mind, and you're just going to be like on it. You're going to be getting stuff done, accomplishing it. It's just this tenacity to be like, let's make it happen. Let's make it go. Let's make it go. Let's go. Let's get it done. Definitely not worried about all the little details. What's the quickest and most efficient way to get it done? Kind of an unstoppable, commanding force in your life for yourself. Definitely a lot of confidence, a lot of center point, a lot of the universe bending around you and working for you in order to get this done. Great attitude and sort of energy moving forward. However, as positive as that is, and it is, there are some little kind of hiccups popping up along the way we want to be aware of in order to keep this energy going in this positive direction and not turning into the Emperor in reversed, which would show the way my spirit guide describes this as the danger that you want to avoid is blind optimism. So it's kind of like feeling really great in the beginning and only focusing on that and losing sight of the little in-between things. Now, I can get more specific about that and we can talk about actually a solution. So over here in the King of Swords in reverse and the Chariot in reverse, both of these talk about this idea of the blind optimism working against you. So when we have a King of Swords in reverse, this becomes a sort of controlling mindset. So initially there's this energy of like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. You're very clear and intention filled. And that's not a bad thing. But what ends up happening is while you're in your flow, picking things, doing what you got to do, you start to kind of be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to be the only one that can make this happen. It's almost, I mean, ego can be kind of perceived in a couple of ways, like being a know-it-all or something like that. We're not talking about that territory. We're talking about you only depending on what you have to choose and it working out in your favor and kind of, it's not so much about you working with other people in a sense of community, but sort of getting a sense of tunnel vision through trusting that, like, the first couple times you're like, I made this decision and I immediately saw a result for that. I made this decision and look how well that's coming across. I clearly am the only one to make these decisions. And you're sort of only allowing yourself to be the guiding navigator and compass and factor. When in reality, other people might have something to offer, the universe has something to pop in, and by taking on this kind of controlling mentality, again, controlling seems like a very intense word for what we're trying to describe here, but stick with me, I'm not intending, it doesn't have that vibration of that intensity of controllingness, you know what I mean? But by holding on to that factor and being like, I'm the one that does it, I'm the only one that has the answer of what's going to happen next because I've seen the results of my actions, you start to believe like, yeah, I'm totally in the flow. I know what's going to happen. Everything's going to work out for me. And because I already have seen the results, this is how it's going to happen. Now, while in any other reading, we very much promote that on this channel, and that's a great way to be, what ends up happening is you unintentionally are closing yourself off from the inspired actions and other options being made available to you around you. So having the optimism of like, yeah, everything's going to work out is awesome. But then being open enough to know, well, when the way it's going to work out, there's any possible way it can develop and happen. And I'm open to hearing advice from someone. I'm open to seeing another chance happen, because the blind optimism leads into what's going on over here in the Chariot in reverse, which just blanketly says, you know, you kind of lost your way, you had a goal in mind, now you're off track, you're not quite sure where to go next, and we don't really want that energy and vibe going into December for you. Not at all, especially when this is not that sort of intense, intention-filled, very fiery Aries vibe going forward. When you're setting this goal to be accomplished is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But in order to kind of grab a hold of that and prevent yourself from taking a positive thing and weirdly turning it into an unintentional negative thing, we want to slow down over here with the Four of Swords upright. You're going to take this moment where you're going to accomplish a couple things. You're going to be really excited and pumped and be like, yeah, that's so cool that I did know what I was doing. And I feel this sense of like, yeah, I'm getting things done and I really can trust myself and see a really beautiful momentum going forward due to my actions. And I can feel like I'm transitioning to making this goal happen. And you kind of take this energy into the grander scheme of life. And then you're going to slow down. You're going to take a second. You're going to breathe, maybe take a nap, give it a couple hours where you're not making choices towards your goal, take a moment, and then almost hit the restart button. You're still starting off when you go back into setting the intention with that Aries fun energy, really getting things done, really confident, but you're again open to starting again and being like, yeah, if someone has advice to give me, I'm going to hear it. If some opportunity presents itself that wasn't in my wheelhouse, that's fine. And you're sort of resetting that button where you're not, your inner mantra isn't always like, only I know what to do for me. You know what I mean? You're always kind of restarting it, keeping that energy going, slowing down, pulling back, and you're allowing this flame to constantly sort of exist without it kind of, think of it as like you're adding firewood to it, right? You don't want to burn through all your firewood. You want to kind of add it at a time, keep it at a nice roar, give it a second, give some oxygen to help it out, let the wind kind of cool it down for a second, add it to it again. So keep that in mind that it sounds like, I don't want this to sound at all like negative, but it's a weird lesson to learn of how something that's well-intentioned can accidentally get curbed and twisted. And this is a beautiful way of keeping it going, but pulling back. And the main thing you always want to be aware of is if you accidentally catch yourself only being like, okay, we're going to do the next thing we need to do in order to get this goal done. Maybe take a second and not refer only back to what you can do, but take a second, look around. Does anyone have anything to offer? Is the universe giving you an inspired action or a moment? Kind of get out of your head a second, but keep that energy going because it will, in the long run, really benefit you, make you feel great during this time period. And that's the main thing here. You're going to get stuff done. You're going to feel great, but we want to be aware of a couple things in order to not let it kind of derail you. So anyways, please let me know in the comments below how excited you are about this fiery nature that's popping up around this time period, especially during a time period when many people are quite dormant. This will definitely not be you, which is beautiful. And also give this video a like, a subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.